Hello, thanks for joining us again today. Well, today it is Wednesday, July the 15th, and here we are already at the halfway point of the month, and just time sure does fly, but at any rate, it is summertime, and I hope your summer's going well. Hope you have a great Wednesday. Of course, tonight being Wednesday evening, many of you will attend a Wednesday evening Bible study, or at least participate, or at least view it online somehow. But at any rate, Wednesday's always a good time of the week, because it's the halfway point of the week, and it's always good to meet with God's people and go over prayer requests. I know many do that, and then of course have something from the Bible. Tonight we're going to end Revelation chapter 22. Well, what an interesting book it is. But we'll end that tonight in our Wednesday evening Bible study. So whatever your preacher has going on, I hope you're able to attend. Well, today we're going to look at a word that I just mentioned. We're going to look at the word summer in the Bible. We're only going to look at 3 references, but we're going to try to kind of draw a conclusion from the 3 that we have here. Wrote this down. The word summer is actually used 28 times in the Bible. Its first use is found in the book of Genesis, and that's where we're going to begin. And we're going to read 2 other references and kind of zero in on the last one that we read. So if it is your custom to find these references, you certainly can. Genesis 8:22, and then we're going to look at Psalm 74:17 and Jeremiah 8:20. Genesis 8:22, Psalm 74:17, and Jeremiah 8:20. So we'll let you find that. Otherwise, thank you for watching these videos. We really appreciate it. And it's encouraging to me that you are watching, and hopefully they're encouraging to you as you watch them, okay? So let's start here, Genesis 8:22. Of course, this is following the end of the flood and Noah, and they have survived that, and there's 8 people left now on the earth, and they'll replenish the earth from that point on. And here's what the Bible says, and it has, of course, the use of the word summer in it. It says, "While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease." So God's saying, you know, I'm in charge of these seasons. I'm in charge of the day and the night. I'm in charge of all of that. Just a good little reminder. You know, you hear a lot in the news today about how man can do this to the planet, do that to the planet. I'm certainly all for doing the right thing. I'm all for not wasting things and all of that. But this idea that man's going to totally change the planet and all of that, that's in God's hands. And God is making a promise here. He says, as long as things are the way they are, he says, then they're just not going to stop until God says they stop. So that's an encouraging thing. But it does have the word summer and winter there. Cold and heat, summer and winter. Naturally, winter represents cold, and heat represents the summer. Before we go to the next reference, this is an interesting thing I tell folks down here in North Carolina. Of course, I grew up in North Carolina, the center part of the state, and I'm down here on the coast at the present time. And you know, I tell people, you know, my first church was up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and of course, I didn't know where the Upper Peninsula of Michigan was. To be honest with you, when I finished Bible college, and churches were contacting the college looking for pastors, and they said, well, there's this church in the UP of Michigan. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know where that was at. I'm not even sure if I ever heard of the UP. When they said UP, that was short for Upper Peninsula. But at any rate, I pastored there for 12 years. And of course, I know there's folks who listen to this. You're in the UP right now, and some of you were born and raised there. And so what I'm about to say is normal for you, but it certainly wasn't normal for a boy from North Carolina for sure. But here's something that I observed before I left, and I knew that one day I'd tell people this. But our last year there, I remember it frosted up until June the 10th. That's right, June the 10th. That was the last day of frost for that season, so to speak. And then it frosted August the 30th. So that means less than 60 days, less than 2 months, you did not have frost. And certainly most people can't relate to that. And that was very interesting. And I remember one time we went fishing out we went to Escanaba. And of course, folks who live up there know exactly what I'm talking about. Went on Little Bay de Noc, basically the upper part of Lake Michigan, the northern part of it. It was July the 4th, and me and my wife, Christy, we wanted to go take our little boat that we had, a little bitty boat. Went out on Little Bay de Noc. We wanted to try to catch some perch and some walleye. Well, to be quite honest, we about froze to death out there. It was July the 4th. Now, where I grew up, July the 4th is usually hot. I mean, like really hot. And boy, you better have air conditioner nearby and lots of water and all that. But boy, we just about froze to death out there. So it's funny how summer can be different one place and can be totally different another. But as a rule, summer obviously represents the heat. Now, let's move on here. The next reference here is Psalm 74:17. Let me read this. And it says this right here. Thou hast set all the borders of the earth. Thou hast made summer and winter. That's just kind of echoing what was just said there in Genesis, basically meaning this, that God has made and God has designed these seasons for specific reasons. As a matter of fact, the very word summer, as used in the Old Testament, means this. It means harvest as the crop, or it means the dry season in which you would harvest these crops. So basically it means a time of harvest. That's what summer basically meant, especially in that day. Now in our day, because most people don't live on farms any longer, then summertime is basically a time to, kids get out of school. It's a time to play. It's certainly a time to get things done in summertime that you couldn't get done any other time. It's a time to play. It's time to go to the water and get cooled off and that sort of thing. So summer, for a lot of people, is just a relaxing time. It's vacation time, as a matter of fact. But all that to say, the word summer itself actually means a time. It means a time of harvest. It means either the crop itself, or it means the time, a dry season for doing such harvesting. Now let's get to Jeremiah 8:20 here, and here's where we'll tie these other two references together. The first two references basically tell us that God is in control of the seasons. We'll just say God's in control of summer. God dictates when it's going to, revolve around to each season. We'll just say we begin with spring, develops into summer, that goes into fall, goes into winter, and the cycle goes again. God is in charge of that. God has made these seasons. Now that being said, God made the season of summer so man would have a time to be able to harvest the crops that he has, and God gives man the ability and the wherewithal to plant. He gives them the seed and all that, but the point is he even gives them a season in which to do it in. And notice this as we kind of shift from the literal summer and literal crops. So notice what it says here in Jeremiah 8:20. It says, "The harvest is past, the summer is ended, and we are not saved." Now, in the philosophical sense, obviously, when you look at life, we begin, let's just say, with the spring, okay, in life. We were born as a little child, and we start to develop. We get into our summer age, and you could figure out what age that might be. You might say, well, that's our 20s through our 50s. I don't know, however you want to look at it. Then we start to get into the fall, and that's where you start to, the middle age and beyond. And then you get into the winter, and that's in your later years. And of course, at some point, then our life ends, and that's just a cycle of life, as we say. So, in the case here of Jeremiah in the day that he lived, and of course we spoke a little bit about Jeremiah yesterday. Jeremiah lived during a time when his country fell. Jerusalem fell, and that was the official end of the country. And as a matter of fact, since all that happened, there's not been a king to sit on the throne of David since then, and that won't happen until Jesus comes back. The Antichrist may think he's kind of taken that place, but in the real sense, Jesus Christ will be the next king since that time, and as far as a king sitting on the throne of David. Now, all that to say, here's Jeremiah saying here, the harvest is past, the summer's ended, and we are not saved. Now, he's talking about the country, its state, not so much the crops and how they have fared in the agricultural sense, but in the sense that things are not good for the country. And at this writing here, where Jeremiah's writing, they haven't fallen yet, but it's right there on the brink of it. So all that to say, let's talk about our life just very quickly here. Let's talk about God develops the seasons. He keeps those in control. In our life, our life is in God's hands. Particularly as a child of God, God knows what he wants us to do. There's a will of God for our life, and God says, I've got seasons in your life for which you can do things. And boy, if there's ever a time we can do them, now's the time to do them, of course. So in the case of Israel, basically time came, and the time came when basically they would lose it all. Now, how many people around us are depending upon us to make sure that in the term of a harvest, like a soul harvest, who's depending upon us so that we can be there for them? And God's given us the opportunity. If God has made the seasons for man to get his crop, so to speak, and all of that, then we need to be taking advantage of the summer in our life wherever we're at. Now, I realize some don't have the kind of energy that they used to have. I understand that, but you know what? We can all pray. I know some can't go like they used to go. I understand all that, but all that to say, God has us all here. We are a team. A church is basically a team of people, and we all contribute something. But, you know, when I look at this, we don't want to let the summer to pass, so to speak. We don't want the summer to pass in somebody's life where we didn't get that harvest in. We didn't take advantage of the time that God has developed for us. So when you look at what God has done in the natural sense, God keeps that in check. That's not in man's hands. That's in God's hands, and God has provided times for us to get certain things done. And as we're in our life, then that means either in our life it's a summer, so to speak, to get things done, or if you look at other people's lives, it's kind of summer for them. Something needs to happen so that they can be, so to speak, reached. You know. So I hope you understand what I'm saying here. It is summertime. Yes, it's hot in the natural sense. I understand that, but it won't be long. It'll be fall. So let's get what we can done in summer, in the literal sense, but in the spiritual sense more so. And let's do what we can, okay? So I hope you have a great day. Hope it is healthy for you. Hope it is safe for you. Hope you have a great Wednesday evening Bible study if you're able to attend. Until tomorrow, have a great day.